Hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra K, and I'm sitting here with Donovan, a recovering Democrat Saadiq, also known as the Black Yul Brenner. It is a Demetra K show where we promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. Like I said, big giant thank you, hello, and welcome to YouTube and Facebook. You are the other side of the conversation. Also to my moderators, thank you so much for everything that you do. It is much appreciated. Could not and would not do this without you. Donovan usually joins us on Tuesday, but we're going to move it to Monday because he's a busy man, right? He's got other things to do. But nevertheless, today we're going to be talking about Don Lemon is outraged at people supporting what Trump and ICE are doing in Chicago. So I'm going to show you a couple of videos as Don Lemon is, I would say, admittedly in the trenches. And really, I think he's doing an outstanding job getting out there and getting these interviews and things. But we're going to talk about that. In the meantime, and Donovan, how you doing?
Doing great. It's a little cold here in Southern California, threatening the rain, but we're in the fall months. So when you're in the desert, if you guys know anything, it's desert gets extremely cold at night. So we're getting that. It feels great. So I really enjoyed. After the show, I'm going straight to the gym, then back here and back into bed. But welcome everybody. 3 o'clock here, Pacific Standard Time. Glad to have you guys back. Please do us a favor. Like, share, subscribe, and share on your groups and platforms and get this message out. A lot of great conversations are heading out there. It does take time and effort to do these great conversations. So if you guys want to, we have a scrolling banner at the bottom there. And if you guys want to continue to donate, those of you guys have donated, thank you very much. But the ways you can donate is Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, cash, money order, however you guys want to do it. Also, do not forget to download the African Diaspora News Channel app. You can get it on Google Play, Apple Store. And with that app, the things that you see on your regular YouTube algorithm, you will not get. There's exclusive content specific to the African Diaspora News Channel app, and it's exclusive to members. So please, if you're interested, please download the African Diaspora News Channel app. A lot of stuff is going on out there in the continent of Africa. Keep your ears to the ground because you're not going to hear this in American media, but you might hear it on the African Diaspora News Channel app. So let's get into this thing. Don Lemon is a little upset. Don Lemonade is a little upset that he's not getting the responses that he wants. I've been watching his man on the street interviews, and he is upset that people are not upset at what is going on with the Trump administration.
And hello once again to everybody. I see that you guys' names have changed back to when they was acting kind of funky. So I don't know what's going on. That's not on my end. Why your names seem to be changed. It's weird that it does that. But anyway, for the most part, I know who you are. So yes, let's go ahead and get into it for the sake of time. So anyway, as you guys may or may not know, the Trump administration, with that of Tom Homan, the border czar is what they're calling him, and Homeland Security and ICE and all that, they decided to go into Chicago. It's been a long conversation up until September 8th, where they finally did go in there. And they said that they were going to be getting the worst of the worst criminal, illegal aliens. These are their words, not mine. Now it is called Operation Midway Blitz, where they're going to go round up a whole bunch of people. Now, it is said that so far they've rounded about 1,000 people, but they're saying, and I'm just telling you what the statistics, and I guess ISIS statistics are saying, that only about 1% of the 1,000 undocumented, that's what they call them, illegal immigrants, 1% of them are actually criminals, right? So, for example, not too long ago, we heard about where there was Black Hawk helicopters and everything like that that was hovering over a South Shore apartment building in Chicago, and they ended up rounding up 37 people who were, I guess, illegal immigrants. And they said only 8 of those people were actually like the gang, Tren de Agua, I think that's how you say it. And so there's a lot going on in Chicago. There's people who are being detained that are citizens for a whole host of reasons. Some of them, like that of South Shore, sounds like a lot of Black people got detained and they were held into a van for some time. They were let go, and then there's people who are getting into a back and forth with, I guess, ICE. They're being detained and, I don't know, maybe arrested, or whatever the case is. But there are a lot of testimonies of people saying that they were rounded up, some from Black people. And to Don Lemon, you know, he was a journalist at CNN, but he was let go or he quit, whatever it was. So he decided to put his feet to the streets himself, which I like that. Put his feet to the street and go out there and talk to people, whatever the case is. And so he's been spending some time in Chicago talking to a whole host of people. Now, in 2024, in September, he said that he's independent. He's an independent voter, which a lot of people are like, really? Because we thought you were a Democrat. He says even though he voted for Kamala, he's an independent voter, which you are hearing a lot of people who rah for Democrats now saying that they're independent. Okay, whatever. So I'm going to show y'all two videos. Well, the first, I'll show y'all. Okay, the first video, this is kind of where I realized he was in Chicago. This particular interview, he's talking to a lady who was Hispanic, and sounds like she's trying to explain to him the rules of how it works in the United States. And then you're going to see a black woman at the end kind of crash out a little bit. And then I'll show you another video of him kind of making a summation of how he feels about what's going on in Chicago. So here's the first video.
Right now is doing mass deportations on all the people that stayed illegally. That's how you manage a country.
I understand that, but we don't like people being roughed up. America doesn't do that. America's about due process. And so maybe in Mexico that's different, but we don't beat our people up here. We're not supposed to.
Mexico's in North America, so North America's a continent. So you do have to do things the right way and anywhere.
But Mexico doesn't go by the same rules that we do. We're the biggest democracy in the country, in the world, and we believe that we treat people humanely here.
No, a lot of them have signs that said, no human is illegal. But once you enter the wrong way, you're breaking the law.
It's not a criminal act. And the president is a criminal. And he's in the highest office in the land. Coming over and being undocumented is not a criminal act. It does not deserve someone to be pushed to the ground and handcuffed. If you come from a place like Mexico or whatever, you're from Mexico?
Yes.
If you come from a place like Mexico, you're right. We have amazing opportunities in this country. And the reason we have those is because we have a constitution where we treat people humanely. We don't beat people up. It's because we don't throw people in detention centers in horrible conditions. That's why you love America.
What history book have you read? American history. Have you read American history? American history. Have you read it?
Mexico is
American history. We talking about slavery, minorities. Have you read it?
Yes, I have.
So if you're a minority, do you like being grabbed, pushed, and thrown in a vehicle in front of your kids?
Ma'am, read geography because Mexico is in North America.
We're talking about history.
And also, there's
we're talking
North
about being
American
whipped.
history.
We're talking about slavery.
You want to talk about what was taken away from the Mexicans? More than half of the U.S. used to be part of Mexico.
So right now, you're talking about your own people.
Let's read history,
You're doing
but
them
let's do it the right way.
You're doing them no justice.
No.
And are you saying North America? It is, but it's not part of the United States of America.
America is a continent. North America, Mexico being part of it. And I'm going to go and read. Can you just tell me what I need to read seriously?
So listen, it's
Consensus?
it's just the thing.
Look at what we did. This is a win.
All right. So let me remove that one. So, okay, you saw that they were trying to, I guess, convince the Latina that we don't do things like that like they do in Mexico, because she was saying that they're deporting people out of Mexico as well. So it sounds like she was kind of saying, I understand there's rules and people need to abide by the rules, but there she is, a Latina. Then you have Don Lemon and the sister that, black people, in a sense, crashing out, basically, I guess, trying to let her know that she is wrong. And of course, y'all heard that Don Lemon was saying, oh, we treat people humanely here. And it's like, where you been? Now, I don't want to run down too low because I know that he has spoken out about the ills that have gone on with Black Americans, but I sure would have liked to see him out there like he is now, documenting what ICE is doing to people and predominantly, illegal immigrants or whatever the case is. But for me, he crashing out behind what's going on. And this lady is trying to tell you, hey, you kind of got to come here legally, and them pushing back is kind of crazy. So I'm also going to show y'all another video of Don Lemon pretty much not happy about what he is seeing. So here we go.
I'm in Chicago, any place where ICE is picking up people, then if you support it, and being out here on the streets of Chicago has really taught me what's going on. It's incredible that U.S. citizens are being caught up, not asked about their papers, not asking about their legitimate or legal U.S. status as an American or a citizen, and they are being taken up, rounded up into vans. This man gave me a story where he was rounded up in a budget rental truck like you rent to move your furniture, and then detained for 8 hours without food or water in a holding cell with 60 people. It's unbelievable. And the protesters, being with those protesters, are they agitators? Yeah, I mean, they're protesting, they're upset, they're angry. But what I've noticed is that the violence comes in when the police step in, when the state troopers step in, or when ICE steps in and they try to push people and they rile up the situation instead of de-escalating the situation. That's where the violence comes in. It doesn't have to be that way, especially if you're a member of law enforcement. But if you're not out here on these streets and you're not witnessing this and you're not talking to people, then what you know about this is bullshit. And I mean that for the people who support what Donald Trump is doing, because there is no excuse for what's happening with people just being rounded up. It's unbelievable. It's not just people who are undocumented or who are migrants. It's U.S. citizens, legal U.S. citizens, people who were born here being rounded up. That's what's actually happening. This is a police state.
Okay, so let's remove old Don Lemon there. Again, that's him. He's got feet to the streets there in Chicago, getting a whole lot of interviews and things like that. And he's pretty much saying he doesn't like it because, you know, they're snatching up people and putting them in vans, and not just illegal immigrants, but American citizens as well. But as I think about people being snatched up in vans, they do that all the time. And Freddie Gray is an example of that. A young brother who was snatched up by the Baltimore police and who was essentially, his life was taken from him while he was taking or being taken for a ride in that van with no seatbelt on or anything like that. So it's not unusual, but it's just crazy to see people, again, crashing out when it's, you know, people who in a sense shouldn't be here in a sense. Now I know the Biden administration opened up the doors and let them over here, but they were told, hey, you need to leave because it's about to get real funky around here. And yet, you know, everybody's crashing out. So as far as these Americans being detained, yeah, there's some being detained, and I'm not saying that's right. It's not. But are they being put into these ICE facilities, or are they being let go? It sounds like they are being let go if that is happening. And I did see he interviewed a black man, an older black man, and he said, yeah, they snatched him up, him and a whole lot of other people, put them in a van, and they took him to some facility or whatever it was. Obviously, they let him go. But the other thing is this, especially to Don Lemon and that other lady, is like, you know, y'all didn't have a problem when all the immigrants were coming over here. Y'all didn't have a problem when they were taking up resources and a whole host of other things from American citizens, specifically that of Black Americans, especially there in Chicago, because that's where they sent a whole lot of them. I didn't see anybody out there crashing out saying this is not right. Why y'all doing this to them? And yet nobody that I know of, and I didn't hear Don Lemon. I don't follow Don Lemon a lot, but I didn't hear him say, hey, Kamala, if you become president, you might want to not do that, right? Of course, we heard that Kamala was going to continue on with mass immigrations and things like that. And so they could have maybe tried to talk to her and steer her a different way. And maybe people would have voted differently, but they didn't do that. But it's hard for me to take them seriously when we know, especially in Chicago, those Black people who are most affected by illegal immigration, and hardly a peep. But now that ICE is out there, rock them, sock them, and doing whatever they're doing, now everybody wants to shed tears. It's kind of crazy. So Donovan, what say you? And then I'll get into the comment section.
I am not surprised that a gay man is caping for illegal activity of people who shouldn't be here, because they use the trope of gay rights is the same as civil rights. You know, these people are so damn delusional that their struggle is the same as everybody else's struggle, which I take offense to, because the gay struggle is not the same as a civil struggle. And I'm not surprised that he's taking up this mantra. And again, like you said, he had no problem with the Biden administration letting all of these people into the country. And when you let that amount of 24 million, it is estimated, allegedly, 24 million people were let into the country in less than in 4 years of the Biden administration. And when you let that amount of people come into the country, you're going to have some problems in getting these people out. And as a military person, I'm going to tell you this, and you guys seen the Vietnam War movies and stuff like that. When a guerrilla insurgency happens, the enemy mixes in with the civilian population so that they're not detected. So unfortunately, collateral damage is going to happen in a situation like that. But I get outraged because even as a Black man walking around today, I get detained, or I'm told, wait a minute, sir, could you have your ID? Da, 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 da. And of course, I know my rights, and I say, no, you can't have my ID unless, of course, you are detaining me for some kind of investigation, whatever. And when they do that, I give them my ID. And then they sort it out, and then they let me go. Well, sorry about that, sir. We're investigating this, da, 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 da. I get all of that. I get all that. It's not a time to get emotional. It's not the time to get upset. But this happens to Black people every day. And I never once saw Don Lemonade or any of these pundits in the Democratic establishment, much less the Republican establishment, saying a damn thing when it comes to Black people getting hemmed up and hawed. That hasn't stopped since we've been here. But you let people that are here illegally, we're citizens. Let these people come here illegally. Oh my gosh, we're roughing these people up. And I'm going to tell you guys this. Don Lemonade doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. In America, we don't rough people up. We believe in due process. You get due process. You get the due process to get the hell out of here. That's your due process. Get the hell out of here. Oh, we don't rough people up in America. The minute he said that, I said, this man doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And I don't know where he's been living. I do not know where this man has been living. But you go to any of these other countries, he's correct. They will jack you up if you don't respect their laws. And that's just how it is. So, I just hate when they use the face of Black people to do the groundwork to make it seem like all Black people feel the same way as Don Lemonade. We don't. We're at the bottom of the system. These other people come here, and right now, what you're seeing is a guerrilla warfare tactic as they come into our communities and they try to hide among us. So if they're hiding among us, and I'm going to say this, and I know it's not going to be popular. I don't feel sorry for those people that want to keep their mouth shut, knowing that that person right there is the cause of them being detained or roughed up because you want to be this good Samaritan type person, and you're being inconvenienced by being detained. I can't feel sorry for you for hiding the person that shouldn't be here to begin with. If you were in their country, do you think that you can hide as a Black person? Obviously not, because you have a different color skin.
So again, y'all names are kind of mixed up again. I don't know why it's doing that. It was fine, and then it's not on my end. I think it's YouTube, and it's weird, right? So, user, I don't know who you are, but I'm sure I do know who you are. I don't want to guess because the last time it was Corey, but I don't want to guess. But hello, how you doing? If you want to put your name in there, because you can see I don't see your name. All right, so let's see. Let me go to the comments. Common Man, how you doing? Says, yep, that's what's happening in Burkina Faso. Donovan, the terrorists blend in and then attack. T. Austin, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. And Brother Damien says, talk Black, Donovan. And Damien, yeah, I saw your comment, but I couldn't put that up there about what Don Lemon may or may not be getting in his bedroom. Okay, but
yeah, and think about this, you guys, really quick. These people have so much high regard for you and your safety, they're putting you at risk. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? They're putting you at risk. They want you to put your welfare on the line. They want you to put your family on the line, and what's going on. So I just don't have respect for people that do things like that. Come into the country the right way. We're welcoming country. Come here the right way. Don't come here the wrong way. Now you're causing all of these problems for us.
Yeah, Brother David, I know who you are. Some of them I don't, that don't say the names is kind of like a bunch of numbers. Yeah. So yeah, I know who most. Okay, so yeah, it is you, Corey. See, my memory ain't failing me yet. All right, so moving down, and Marjorie says, it's ironic that I'm watching a movie called Karen, damn, and thinking about how these white supremacists use their white Karens and judicial system to justify the demonic criminal acts against Black Americans everywhere. Yeah, I've heard that movie. It just looked kind of corny, but how is it? Damien says, I understand. I showed some restraint. Yeah, you did. I was like, wow. Hey, Tracy, how you doing? And Albie says, Donovan spitting hot fire like Dylan. Black America, he says, we need them to pick our fruits, vegetable, and landscape. So you're basically saying immigration is not an issue, and nobody Black, they're not taking Black jobs. I mean, okay.
Well, you kind of sound like a slave owner, because they were saying the same thing about slavery. Didn't they say the same thing? Well, we need these blacks to pick the cotton and the tobacco and all the other stuff. So again, if that wasn't justified then, why is it justified now? Doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, the difference between the immigrants and what our ancestors were doing, our ancestors weren't getting paid, and our ancestors were forced to do it. The illegal immigrants coming over here that's working probably, you know, for a lot of next to nothing. They're not forced to do it. Nobody's forcing them to come over here. So it was a huge difference in, it's not even a comparison. And I hate, honestly, when I hear people compare us, because it's not the same. Those illegal immigrants will make whatever they're making. But the one thing they got is the ability to do group economics, because they understand it. So they'll get that money from those farms or whatever it is, and they'll put all that money together, and then they're going to go buy them a farm. So yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I hate when people use that comparison, like, well, we need them to pick our farms. You sound like a racist when you say that. When a person says that to me, it sounds like a racist trope, because the most people that use that term are rich white people.
Well, I mean, I guess I hear what you're saying. I guess it could be racist depending on how it's being said, but it's a job. Nobody's telling them to come over there. It'd be racist if they was rounding them up and say, hey, you come pick these grapes, but nobody's making them do it. They're showing up to them white folks' farms and saying, hey, I'll work, or whatever the case is. So to me, that's kind of where the difference is. Case in point, nobody's being forced to do it because nobody's doing it, and those crops are rotting as we speak. So if anything,
right, but at the same time, they're undermining the union pickers, which does exist here in California and in other places where there's unionized pickers, and the people that do those jobs, they're undermining those unions. That's why when I hear that, it's like, yeah, I get it. They come here to work. Okay, great. But guess what you're doing? You're undermining the unions who are getting paid good wages and benefits to do that job. And I get it, the economics of it and stuff like that. But I just don't think it's a valid argument to say, well, we need somebody to pick this and that. Shoot, I need somebody to go wash my car. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's just, anyway.
Yeah, but they do need somebody to pick it, because ain't nobody picking it. And these union workers ain't going to go over there and pick it for $5 or however much they paying them. So
exactly, which is why if you come in here the right way and you join a union, you don't undermine the union, Americans would have good wages. And even if you're not an American in right, but if you're here legally, you could get those wages. But coming here at $5 an hour, and you know, you're here in the United States and you're making babies, and those babies are detrimental to us and our grandkids down the road, that's not helping the situation either.
So my other comment is, if there weren't $5 an hour jobs being offered, would they be working for $5 an hour?
Probably not. But again, like you and I both know, both of these parties who are owned by corporations, they want this stuff to happen. This is why it's not enforced the way it is. And there's so many loopholes in the laws. When these CEOs start getting arrested, remember Enron, the guy that got, you know, the Enron scandal, all these corporations were getting, and these CEOs were getting arrested. That's when all the foolishness stops. But notice, even though you have E-Verify and all these things that happen, every time these CEOs and these companies are caught, no CEO is put in handcuffs and perp walked. Not one. When they start doing that, a lot of this foolishness would stop.
So, and of course, you know, yeah. You spoke about Enron. We know what happened with Enron. It cost a lot of people money and their lives and things like that. Look it up. But the other thing is, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat there in Capitol Hill, they know those farmers have got those immigrants working over there. They know that. They know that they got them working for $5, however much it is. It ain't minimum wage and it ain't a living wage. They know that. So a lot of those farmers also voted for Trump, you know, thinking that they was going to be all right. And a lot of them are crashing out. So what I'm saying is, everybody knew they paying immigrants next to nothing to pick those crops. Case in point, if they were paying them something, there'd be people over there doing it, right? American citizens be like, oh, I want that job. I don't want that job. I do that job, though, if they're going to pay me a living wage. I'm going to keep it a buck. But if they weren't hiring people for next to nothing, then there wouldn't be people working for next to nothing. Those people, those farmers do not want to pay a living wage. So that's why they get the immigrants. So to me, it's not a hard line of reasoning to follow. You know what I mean? So I don't know. They kind of, you know, FAO right now.
Yeah, but still, they still need to come over here the right way, and they're using this as a division of a wedge between the American people and the immigrants and all this other stuff to pull at your heartstrings. They need to come here the right way, and this wouldn't be an issue. I get it about the pay, whatever. Dimitri, you're from California. For years, they used to they still do it. They let the Tijuana Mexicans and stuff come right over the border to pick the little fruits in Southern California, and then they go back home. So they've been doing that for years. There's no problem with that. The point is, we've got to stop incentivizing these people to come over here. And like I said, again, the corporations. And I said, it's a wedge issue that makes us fight among ourselves. And we need to stop that.
Yeah, and to your point, they not gonna do that. They doing it now, because again, a lot of them thought that Trump was going, look out for them and stuff, but a lot of them are not, and then really the farmers are hurting because of the tariffs, are so high, and China just won't buy the stuff. Matter of fact, they said we ain't even gonna mess with y'all American farmers no more. We're gonna circumvent and go to other places, and they have done that. So it's the tariffs, and it's a whole host of stuff. So everybody was eating greedy when they were allowed to do it. But even a lot of the people who have like businesses and stuff that they were ordering from China, they're talking about, Trump is America first, but they were also buying from China and everywhere else. Why? Because it's cheaper to do that. I don't care how much money you got. If you can go buy goods for cheaper, you're gonna do that. So like you said, the flaw is that they're able to do it. But now that Trump is in office and saying we sending them all back, because see, at first he was like, we sending the criminals back, but he's like, after we sending everybody back. Well, some of that everybody was some people on the farms, in those factories. They stopped showing up. They got gaffled up or whatever it is. So, I mean, it's nothing new. They just now having to figure out, are we going to pay Americans, living wage to come pick these grapes, or are we going to go belly up? In fact, it is predicted, and it's a thing that a lot of those farms are going to go in foreclosure very soon because they cannot afford to stay open for a whole host of reasons.
Well, guess what? If that does happen, you look at your farm next time you go to your grocery store. Where's the food imported from? Mexico, Canada, all these other, Guatemala, all these other places. It's a systematic thing to put American businesses out of business so that we will be dependent on imports. That's basically what it is. And when that happens, guess whose standard of living increases and gets better? Mexico, El Salvador, and all those other people, because we are dependent on their produce. They're making jobs for those people. Yeah, well, that the problem, like I said, illegal immigration, it's a hell of a thing. But this is probably one of the only countries up until recently where it say, hey, come over and get all you can get. You get jobs, you get money, you get housing, you get health care. And now they can't do that. And so now the people who didn't, was champion for racism, let's keep it a buck, they were champion for racism. Now they're the ones that's getting the brunt end of the stick. So yeah. But like I said, a lot of American people will pick those crops if they was paying them enough money. But hey, I ain't finna be going over there for no $5 an hour or whatever it is they paying them people. It just got me messed up. Marjorie says, and hello, Michelle. It says, Marjorie, let them deal with their own problems with the United States government. We've had a tremendous microaggressions against us while these Latinos, Asians, Hispanics, or other ethnic minorities laugh. Yeah, that is 100% true. Love, Muscle, how you doing? He says, and they get subsidies is all to be in Confederate against foundational Americans. Okay. Allie, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Who else we got in the chat? African Native, how you doing? Says, my bad from yesterday. Mount Cameroon is not the second highest mountain of Africa. I think it's Mount Kenya, Kilimanjaro. And you say is the highest. So I understand, but I'm not sure about that conversation. I didn't see it. Charlene, how you doing? It says, hi, D&D. There's a seasonal farm worker system where they hire people from places like Mexico, Caribbean, etc. The workers come in legally, then leave after the contract is up. That is true as well. But a lot of the people weren't here legally, right? So I think, Donovan, really what it is exploitation, but it's not, there's nowhere near slavery at all. Exploitation, but not slavery. Sure, no, I'm not. Nothing's going to compare to that. But even in the aspect of slavery, that's exploitation of free labor. In the aspect that we understand it, still exploitation, no matter how you
Yeah,
look
it
at it.
ain't free labor because they getting paid to do it. And
Yeah,
nobody
no, I'm
telling
saying slavery. I'm saying
yeah,
slavery, right? But
yeah.
it's still, doing what it's doing.
JJ, how you doing? Says somehow they will start to figure out a way to blame FBA. What's new, right? Let's see who else is on here. And I've been seeing all your comments. I just want to make sure I don't get behind because y'all know we doing that. Tracy, how you doing? Says no one is going to work with the says no one is going to work with the right pay because they don't want to give you days off. But I saw somebody, talk about Elon Musk and his robots. It's probably a matter of time, right? Get out there and make them pick the grapes and whatever it is. And Bakari, how you doing? Hope that you're doing well. And Yvonne, y'all names are kind of on my end is messed up. So he said, how you doing? He says immigrants in handcuffs and ankle chains while screaming, I'm white. Nope. Damn. Regina, 48 TCO. How you doing? It says, I say take that welfare check away. They need to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. Love Muscle says they want to be exploited. The fact is they promote wage slavery. We are always undercut and underbid, always, right? And that don't even need to be on no farm or anything like that. But again, even with the exploitation, they are showing up. Nobody's forcing them to do it. At least I don't think they are. Nobody's forcing them to do it. They can say no. But again, they'll come over here and get the low wages and they'll put it all together and then, they'll be owning up some stuff, whatever the case is. But I just, for me, I hate when people make that comparison to slavery. I see actually a lot of people do it. And I wholeheartedly reject that because it's like, how dare you? How dare you compare anything that they're going through slavery? It pales in comparison. Even though they are in those deportation, ICE deportation centers, it still pales in comparison to what our ancestors have to endure in those slave shacks. So, yeah.
Right. And for those of you guys that have traveled, especially you guys that are cruisers, you go on those cruises and you go to those Caribbean islands and stuff. You guys have been to Jamaica. You've been to Dominican Republic. You've been to Mexico. There's not a lot of opportunities in these countries. And guess who owns most of the manufacturing and stuff in those countries? American corporations. I mean, how many times have we sent the Marines to Haiti and all these places down there to occupy it for a few, because the corporation was threatened by the local establishment there? Many a times, right? But the biggest thing for those people is they want opportunities that their governments aren't giving them. And again, if you go to these countries, it's all about opportunity. So for $3 an hour versus $0 an hour, what would you do? I'm not defending them. I'm just saying it's human nature of survival. They're going to do whatever they got to do. So when these people come over here illegally, this is why you shouldn't feel sorry for them. Nobody should feel sorry for them. They took a risk, a knowing risk. It's like when you go to gamble at a casino, the rent money is due, but for some reason, you think you're going to hit it big on that slot machine. You took a calculated risk. So my problem with them is, okay, you came over here, you got caught. Now just go back. Stop fighting this and go back because you're not going to win. Go ahead.
Yeah, because a lot of them think, well, I'm not going to get caught, right? Because they even when Trump was in office the first time, I mean, shoot, I know somebody, she's a homie of mine. She was like, let me go and get my papers together. The first Trump administration, in fact. I took her to the immigration office and things like that. I was like, yeah, you don't want to get gaffled up. But this time Trump came in with a vengeance, right? Common Man, thank you so much. Love and appreciate you. Says America doesn't need the white American farmer anymore. He says they price themselves out of the market. America can import fruits and vegetables for a lot less money. Donovan and Demetria. That's absolutely right. And the world is finding out, hey, we don't need the American farmer either because for one, Trump keeps going back and forth with these tariffs on China and this, that, and the other. And they're just like, we'll just go get the soybeans or the corn or whatever it is from somebody else. So yeah, sucks for them. Norma, how you doing? Says the exploitation of these other groups are voluntary. They could have stayed in their country. I totally agree with you. Like I said, it's exploitation to pay them less than you pay anybody else. But again, like you said, nobody's forcing them to do it, right? Al, how you doing? He says Trump thought he was schizophrenic. He thought he was schizophrenic. He might be. I don't know. He's in Israel now, and he's saying some things that's kind of like, you really want to be saying that kind of stuff?
Again, cognitive decline. This is what happens when you have senior people still in the workforce or leading nations, and they're in cognitive decline. I mean, not everybody's going to get hit it the same way, but this is what happens.
Flashback, he says robots don't now you make me not want to eat nothing. Robots don't crap and pee in the fields, causing vegetable recall. You know what though? They do be having some recalls, right? How you get that kind of stuff on like spinach and stuff, but I ain't think about that. Ew.
Right, but also think about, remember growing up, you can get a watermelon and they had the seeds. Now they are intentionally making crops that can't reproduce themselves. It's a one and done type crop. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, seedless is not good because how you growing something with no seed? You know, Marjorie, thank you so much for the super sticker. Love and appreciate you for that. David, how you doing? Since they came here on their own, nobody forced them. Totally agree. That's why I said we cannot compare that to slavery at all. It has no comparison, none. Because what we do is when we say that kind of stuff, and I've heard a lot of politicians like Brandon Johnson and things, they try to make these comparisons to slavery. It's like you play our ancestors short because nothing they did was volunteered. Nothing, right? Becoming breeders, and that wasn't voluntary, you know.
Demetra, according to the CBC and most Black representatives, slavery is immigration. That's what they're selling.
I've heard that. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I see. Yeah, well, you know, for the most part, they think they're talking to people who are stupid because they're like, you know, since you got to be kind of off a little bit to just go along with any and everything that we say, right? So they do make that comparison. Oh, well, the slaves were immigrants. Is like, huh? Okay, now you need to shut the hell up.
Yeah, that's like, remember during Katrina, the Blacks were, what did they call the Blacks? It was like, they called the Blacks like migrant refugees. Yeah, American citizens they're calling refugees. It was crazy stuff.
Yes. All right, Al, I got you. Your joke. Melania treats me like I don't exist. Okay. Mama T, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, they call them refugees. Like, how the hell are you a refugee if you're an American citizen? But that's how they think of Black people, especially in distress. Well, they refugees. We're not going to really help them. And it's crazy to think about Katrina, you know, the anniversary that just passed. And it's like they were treated like refugees, but up until a year ago, the immigrants coming over here, they were treated like royalty. Yeah, American citizens who literally died and was starving for 5 days with no water, no food, no nothing, being likened to refugees. And you got people coming over here, you know, eating greedy. It's sickening. Let's see who else is in the chat. Nerd Squad, how you doing? Says, I'm Jamaican. I live here. Most of the business are owned by Chinese. I'm not working for anyone. And so you said, oh, most of the business owned by Chinese. The Chinese, is there specific to somewhere that you live? I'm not quite sure. They do own a lot of business though, but just asking about where you live. Norman says the other groups fighting for nothing, but the second they hear the word deportation, they turn into superheroes. Okay. Vanessa says they believe we as a people will keep giving our lives for the efforts. Will not. We stop doing that, and they're just mind blowing to them.
Has anybody ever wondered, with all the energy and the fighting and the protesting that they're doing, which I don't see much on TV anymore? I'm here in California, so I live in a Hispanic neighborhood. Yes, I do. I always ask my neighbors, why don't you guys have that energy in Mexico, in Guatemala? Why do you guys come here? Because the answer is authoritarian governments ain't going to put up with that BS, right? So, they don't have as much privilege that they do. But these people here, they come here and they want to just fight and scrap and whatever. I said, why don't you take that same energy and go to Mexico with it?
Okay, well, let's play a game, shall we? It's Halloween, jigsaw and all. Let's play a game, okay? You come over here. I said, come on, Donovan, come get all you want. The United States is a buffet. You can get housing, get food, you can get, money and education.
As long as you're not Black.
Right. Or, come on. And there's Black immigrants who came over here, right? They got some stuff. Come over here. Then somebody says, the buffet is closed. You must leave. You're going to fight this guy to continue eating, aren't you? It's the same mentality. So they fighting to continue to get the free stuff because they know once they go home for whatever reason they leaving, they never going to eat as greedy as they did over here. So that's why they fighting, right? To stay over here. Lauren, how you doing? Says military personnel and their families are increasingly relying on food banks and pantries due to the economy and the shutdown. There is a 30% uptick among soldiers. Things are not going well here. You're absolutely right. I was listening to a report about the veterans and active people, I guess, too, who are in those soup kitchen lines, if you will. Of course, we know the government is shut down and things like that, but it's sad. And you're right, things are not going well. And I don't think we can continue to try to pretend like it is, especially when you hear that there's military personnel who are in soup kitchen lines, and pretty soon that's going to be everybody. So
yeah, well, here's something I can speak on, and I answered that question in the chat. But I was a military kid, so lived in Japan and stuff like that. The military people have always been eligible for food stamps, and depending on what's going on, food banks and stuff like that, because the military people are not paid. I know you guys hear about this $1 trillion military budget. That's not going to the people, especially the enlisted corps. It's not going to the people. It's going to the manufacturers and the research and development. So $1 trillion, and you still got military people that are eligible for food stamps. And it's always been that way. And I was born into the military, and I've always known since I was little that we're eligible for food stamps and all that other stuff. And that's just how it's always been. But see, the American people, and I'm not calling anybody out, Lauren, or anybody like that, it's not a problem until it's a problem. See, now that everything is shut down, now we're concerned about our military folks and making sure that they get what they need and their families get what they need. But, I'm just going to say this for myself. Where were you guys 30 years ago when this was going on? Where were you guys 40 years ago when this was going on? Now, all of a sudden, it's a problem. We've been surviving without it, and we're going to continue to survive with that. I'm not saying we don't need it. Anything we get is we appreciate it. But this is not new to people who've been in the military that have families. At one time, the more kids you have, you were incentivized. The military changed that rule. You could have 4 children in your family. Dimitri, you should know this because you've been trying to get your benefits. The military only gives you $150 for one family member. So your spouse and you, the only incentive you get is $150 for that spouse. You could have 9 kids. You only get $150, not per kid like it used to be. Again, our parents' generation, take that ladder, they pull it up. You get $150 no matter how many people are in your family. They don't do that to try to keep it up, to the cost of living. It's always been that way. But I'm not saying I'm mad or anything, but it's just kind of insulting when this has always been this way, and a lot of people out there know it, and nothing has changed for the military family, and it's sad.
Absolutely. And Brother Samuel, you made a good point about the stuff that they put on the seeds and the food and things like that. Yeah, definitely will have an adverse effect on you as well. So we have to be very cognizant. Kimmy, how you doing? Says because they ain't handing them welfare in Mexico. Exactly. Hello, Sammy. How you doing? Since this is Sam for Chicago, the city is in $1 billion plus deficit because of the Democrats prioritizing illegal aliens, and we know the care packages they got, right? And was fighting to keep them. And politicians there, even to this day, was it Brandon Johnson's making safe zones and all kind of stuff for them? It's like, oh my God, like you really just, like I said, if Brandon Johnson get back in office, the next time he run, I will never mention another word about Chicago ever again, other than it's probably got nice pizza. I don't know. African Native says, what has freed China from the West? Chokehold was the communism. If Black Americans convert to communism, maybe it's a way to go. Okay. Avenge the Ancestors, how you doing? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's see, who else haven't I seen on here? I want to make sure I'm not too far behind him. Boss Player. He says, and that's how your name come up. You say the military offers socialism to its members to defend capitalism all over the world.
Yeah, well, I'm going to correct that. The military is not a socialist organization. We don't practice democracy, but we do protect it. But the military is more apt to slavery than it is socialism. The higher your rank, you do what I say without question, so on and so forth. But the military has nothing to do with socialism.
Miss Mississippi, how you doing? It says, why enlist? Oh, that's a loaded question right there.
Well, Demetria's been trying to get her benefits for how many years now?
I've been trying.
There's some benefits to it.
Hey, listen, I saw a report and I sent it to you, Donovan, where they catching up veterans for lying and rooking the system. I told you one guy who said he was blind, and I guess when he go to the VA or whatever, then they saw him at the grocery store, and he and one dude is a brother. I guess he was supposed to couldn't walk at all, and then they had surveillance of him in a bounce house with his kids, and he's bouncing around and doing backflips and stuff. I'm like, why? So yes. They cracking down on veterans too.
Yeah. The Doge thing is kind of going with the Inspector General. So yeah, and it's been going on for a long time. There's a lot of veterans that are getting benefits that they shouldn't be getting, and so they're doing a whole reroute of going through and looking at some people who are getting things that they shouldn't be getting. And it's unfortunate because what also could happen is if you are caught in fraud, you could lose all of your benefits. That's the scary part of it. You could lose them all.
And they said, I guess, like you said, I have to pay it all back too, which is woo. Hey, Brother James said, I've been listening. Guess what? You prove more and show the reparations that we're old. I want the reparations of what Elijah Muhammad said, that we are old. Oh, we'll get them. We are definitely. Yeah,
my girl Sunlight says this: is TRICARE not socialism? I know where you're going with that, Empress Sunlight, but guess what? It's not socialism. You want to know why? Because we have to pay for it. My contract, I did a whole contract with the military. I wasn't supposed to pay a dime for healthcare, but some person outsourced the military medical system for your family members and stuff. And it doesn't matter even if it's $1. I shouldn't have to pay anything, but I'm paying for a family. I'm paying something like $300 and something. Well, I'm not on a family plan anymore, but it's not socialism because you have to pay for it. So it's not socialism. It's capitalism.
Diane says USA and Qatar signed a deal to allow Qatari Emory Air Force to build and maintain a training facility at the Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho.
That's correct, but it's not correct. Okay. What it is this. We have a lot of allies and friends, right? If you've ever been on a military base, they will designate part of that base or a facility in that base for that particular, unit or country to do their training and stuff like that. So a good example, Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas. A lot of the Iraqi pilots get their training at that base there. So it's kind of a misnomer what they're saying. They're not going to build another whole facility, because that would be an invasion of the United States. No, it's on a military base. They get a certain side. For those of you guys that have been in the military, how many of you guys have been on a military base, active military base, and there's a reserve part of the base where the reserves are at, or the guard? A different entity, but they have their own little area, right? Same thing. If you ever been to Hickam, Hawaii, the Air National Guard from the active duty Air Force Base and the Navy, they have their own little side, beautiful golf course over there too. It's just separated. So that's what they do. So it's true, but it's not true. It's just within the base.
That's not what Petey Pete said.
What?
They said he made a whole announcement that they were building a military base in Idaho.
Right, on the base. Do you know how big Mountain Home is? I've been there. It's on the base.
Okay, so if it's then why did he say they are building their own on in Idaho? Whether it's on the base already,
yeah.
But I hear what you're saying, because they had to walk that back because MAGA fell out. Because they're like that. Listen. I know what it is, but let's keep it real here, okay? We know that Trump got what from the Qatari? What did he get?
I think he got a little toy plane. Yeah.
The little toy plane was at $400 million.
Yeah, the American people got a toy plane, not American people. He can't accept personal gifts. But go ahead.
He taking that with him when he leaves. Okay, he taking that with him. So they gave him a $400 million plane. And come on now. He made a deal with him. And originally, I'm sure come on over here and build a base. MAGA fell out because Trump's thing, even though sometimes it looks like some of his clothes are still made in China. I don't know if they still are, but they talk about they American first, and you know they hate Muslims. Let's keep it a buck. And then they find out that Muslims, the Arabs or whatever they are able to build a base on America. So they have to walk that back. Even J.D. Vance, when he was asked about it, he had no idea as to what was going on. Then, of course, they did this, revamping of what Pete had said. So it's like, to me, for one, it sounds like Pete is out of his league, just be saying stuff, and maybe he's not I think that him and Trump probably had a conversation that Vance was not in on, but there's no doubt in my mind they told the Qatari that they can have a base over there. When MAGA flipped out, they was like, oh, well, what happened was.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Just because you're president of the United States and vice president of the United States doesn't mean you have a military background and understand the rules and engagement of what you can do in the United States in regards to foreign governments and military. Name me somewhere in the United States where Britain has a base here in the United States. There is no such place. France, any of our allies, they do not have bases here. Even when we go overseas, we don't have bases over there. We have joint bases. Well, I guess Okinawa would be, we have bases there in Japan. That's specific to us. But the Japanese, we're in a joint agreement with them. But usually bases like that are on the military base that already exists. So Qatar is not building an Air Force base in the United States. It's on the very same base. It's not.
What Pete said.
I know that's what he said, but that isn't what's actually going to happen.
And
that's
he's
not.
Secretary of what?
But it's not going to happen. Just because he says it, it isn't going to happen.
Well,
it isn't going to happen.
Who says it's not? Who says
it's not? It can't. It's in the Constitution. It can't.
Okay, come on, homie.
Trust me, he can't do it. He can't do it by law. He can't.
There's a lot of.
They have to be on a federal base.
Okay, listen. We all telling you what the word on the curb was, or
I hear you.
But listen, whether they can or they cannot, the Secretary of War made a whole statement and said this. Made a whole statement that it didn't seem like everybody even knew. They walked it back because MAGA fell out. Let's keep it a buck. Because if MAGA didn't fall out, they was completely going to let the Qatari build an Air Force base in Idaho.
Like I said, I agree with you. I heard what you said, but just because he said it doesn't mean it's going to be true. Politicians lying and spinning things, that's what they do. Those of us that have been in the military, just like Diane just said, Donovan, what I wrote was not that they were building another facility. I said they were using the facility to train these people. And that's what they do. Again, Iraqis, pilots are trained at Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas. And it's a joint use type thing. And that's what they do. Certain countries, again, British pilots are trained here, the C-17s, all the stuff that's joint use. They cannot form a base here in the United States. It just doesn't happen.
Well, somebody up there don't know what the hell they talking about. Okay. Because Pete said that they was getting a base. They was building. Come on, man. They gave Trump.
Those of us that are in the military, again.
That don't mean
no. Here's what I know. If they're building facilities at Mountain Home Air Force Base, it's going to be a facility that is not separate from that base. It's going to either be on the base or they're going to be building adjacent to the base.
I know, and I'll take your word for it. I'm not disputing what you said. I'm telling you what the Secretary of War said, who I would imagine is one of the most, capable. Well, wait, hold on now. Because why the hell are you the Secretary of War if you don't know? Hell, let me finish. If you don't know what the hell you talking about, you letting people who ain't supposed to be building Air Force bases in America, why are you the Secretary of War?
I'll answer that. Because there is no qualification to be a secretary in the cabinet. If you're approved by I could appoint, if I was the president, I could appoint Benny as Secretary of the Interior. He has to be approved with the consent of the Senate. There is no qualification to be a cabinet member. There is none. If they let you go through and you're part of the political program, you're in. Doesn't mean you have to know anything. Look at the Secretary of Transportation. One of the most important positions to be in. The Secretary of Transportation is in charge of the rail air, all of that stuff. Do you guys honestly believe that the Secretary of Transportation understands aeronautics? Does he understand logistics and stuff like that? No, he's just an executive there to run a department. That's all it is.
Are we comfortable with that? Like he said that they could, that a whole the Qatari could build a air force. I'm telling you what the man said.
I know. I heard it. I saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
So what are we doing? What are we doing?
But just because he says it doesn't mean it's true. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And they're going to straighten him out about that later on down the road. And you know how MAGA does. They throw red meat out there and they're just dumb as hell, just like Kamala and all the other Democrats, everybody that's a politician. They throw stuff out there to sound intelligent or to make it look like they know what they're talking about, only to walk it back later on.
Now I'm a... Because see, when Kamala and them was doing that, everybody, put a foot up there. And here you are. Trump and them, they dropping balls, letting people build Air Force bases and stuff in America, all kind of stuff. But now you don't deflect to Kamala and them. I think that's they butt whooping to take.
No. What I'm saying is any politician.
But for me, more than anything, once again, it shows that they are disjointed in most everything that they do. I mean, they asked Trump about certain things. Now, mind you, Trump is what with the military? He's a commander-in-chief. Shouldn't he at least know that what you're saying, that they can't be building stuff over here?
And that's why he has advisors that will tell him what he needs to know and what he can do. Remember, who was I guess his chief of staff in his first term? And they were telling, he was a former general, and they were telling him, he had these ideas and they were like, no, you can't do that because that's criminal. He had all these ideas and they would walk him back and tell him what he needs to do. That's why you have advisors that would tell you, because there's no way you're going to know how everything runs. It just doesn't happen that way. You have advisors that will tell you what you need to know.
That sounds like a big oopsie to me. That's not we said they can move the flagpole to that side of the White House. That's a big deal. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I've only been to a few bases myself.
Yeah, okay. But that's why you have advisors and stuff. There's no way a person who knows nothing about government. Remember, Donald Trump wasn't a politician. He came straight out of corrupt business. So how do you expect a businessman to understand how government works? They need advisors. They need people that understand how things move and get things moving. That's why, what's that guy, Miller? Even though he's a douchebag and all that other stuff, Stephen Miller, he understands how government works. That's why the policies that he is putting in place, Trump is approving and it goes. That's why you have these secretaries all around you to help you run government. That's what they're there for.
And yeah, I know what y'all saying. He hasn't walked it back. They cleaned it up a little bit. They're trying to clarify, but no, they haven't said they're not going to be able to do anything over here. They just kind of cleaned it up because that dude, Pete, he went out there blazing saddles saying, hey, it's going down, and people flipped out. And so now they're trying to tweak it a little bit type of thing. But yeah, they technically haven't walked anything back.
Yeah. And you got to think about this. Most of your military people who stand up for the Constitution, that's not going to fly. Again, according to the law, they cannot. There is no our closest ally, England, doesn't have a base here. I mean, come on, you guys. You got to use your common sense with this. It's not going to fly. Now, England does have joint use at certain bases, but they're not garrisoned here in the United States because that goes against the Constitution.
I mean, you got to, we understand that. I'm just saying the people who run in this doggone country are allegedly, they apparently don't know what you're saying. You know
right.
What I mean?
And again, if that ever tried to happen, you would see real patriots step up and say, absolutely not. Well, and it's not going to happen.
That's why they tweeted. William, how you doing? Says, how should Donald Trump agree with Saadiq hostage free? I'm not sure what that is. If you want to clarify, Wendell, how you doing? Says, so basically, the only foreign entity that can build there is Israel. Sounds like, right? African Native says Trump came straight from his apprenticeship show to become president. You crazy.
Exactly. Diane says, Donovan, Trump is a criminal, yet he was voted into office. I don't believe his cabinet is qualified either. So that's not a good argument to me. But here's the thing, Diane. You're using your common sense, which is absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. But according to the Constitution, you don't have to be qualified. It doesn't matter how we feel. The fact is, you could put a totally unqualified person into government, which a lot of us do. Maxine Waters, AOC, any of these people that come out of nowhere. And that's how it works. Government of the people, by the people. There's no certain qualification you got to have to be president other than an age requirement, and that's it. There's no degree you got to have. There's none of that. But see, using your common sense, you would think that we would have certain filters in there to weed out the inexperience. No, we don't have those things. You could be a dude that was just a drug dealer that did your time. You could become president. There's nothing there is no disqualification of a criminal background to become president. But you would think, now that we have a guy that's been convicted of a crime, that the Congress would make laws and say, okay, we've got to redefine this a little bit better. But they're not going to do that because they're all criminal.
Michelle says some folks are really making excuses for Trump and tiptoeing, thinking for him wrong is wrong. And no matter who. Tracy, you crazy. Talking about Maxine was born before Jesus. No one voted her in. She walked in a line and of slat or salt, that slat that was broken. Yeah. Brother James says Trump always been who he is now. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Kimir Michelle 605. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. She says military follow orders. We aren't even allowed to push back against the government in our contracts. I'm gonna disagree with you. The military is obligated to follow legal orders. You just don't follow orders because they are orders, because that's what the Nazis tried in Nuremberg, right? And what happened to them? I was just following orders. A lot of them got locked up and hung because you have an obligation to follow legal orders.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny. I was telling my daughter about that the other day. A lot of these people who are complicit, even now, I mean, I told her exactly what you said. That could happen, you know. Love Muscle, he says, I'm so embarrassed by the lack of knowledge of our country. Yeah, there's a lot of it. Brother Bakari says, yes, Donovan is right. The Secretary of War is an idiot. He talking out. He said his neck. You better behave. Let's see.
But you know what, Demetra? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just got a question. Yeah, I got a question for you, though. But it goes back to what you were saying a couple of shows back, how people take a narrative and they run with it. You know, and I'm not saying that makes people bad. I'm just saying it just goes to show they get a narrative and they run with it. So
and what narrative was that? But yeah, I agree. But what narrative?
Well, you know, any narrative, like anything that comes out, like, okay, yeah, oh, he's building a base in Idaho. No, that's not true. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
The Secretary of War said it. I mean, he's
exactly. But no. Again, I get it, but again, just because you got to do your research. What does the law say? And it doesn't. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't. It's just like Donald Trump being the president. He says things. Is it always true? Most of everything Donald Trump says is not true, and we're just cool with it. You know, we're like, yeah, okay, he's a liar, and we go about it because we're using our common sense.
I mean, either they building one there or they not. It's either they are, it's one or the other, right? But again, I'm not disputing what you're saying, but I'm saying that that's supposed to be the top brass, under the top brass, next to the top brass, or whatever it is. It's like, it's kind of scary. Yeah.
I'm disappointed in you, Demetra, as somebody who's a military person and who's served this country for, how old is Deanna now?
32.
In her 30s. I'm gonna say in her 30s. I'm surprised.
35 years. Yeah, I've been. Raven says Congress won't vote for federal employees to get paid. They won't vote to make sure we never have a criminal president again. I did see that Trump was saying that they're supposed to be making sure the military gets paid. So I don't know if that's happened or it's gonna happen. Just like they said that they was gonna. He's thinking about the farmers getting $10 billion in subsidies, but I guess because the government is kind of shut down now, they can't really. I don't know. It's a lot going on.
Real quick, Kimmy has a response to what I said. She says, no, we have to follow our orders or you get penalized. No, you're wrong, Kimmy. And this is why. Yes, you're going to get penalized to go to the carpet regardless. But guess what happens when you're right? You get reinstated if you want to come back. but you are not obligated to follow illegal orders. You're not. And I don't know what branch of service you were in, or if you're in now. You need to talk to your superior and ask that question, because you are not obligated to follow illegal orders. So, Kimmy, what you're saying is your superior tells you to go shoot all these children. Are you going to do it? Because according to you, what you're just saying there is we have to follow orders like we're drones and robots. We're not drones and robots. You have a moral obligation to follow legal orders. Yes, you are going to be penalized if you don't do it. But if you are proven right, guess what? You did your job. You did it the right way.
Lene, I'm going to go back to your comment. Let me see. I'm trying to find it. Okay, let's see. It's way up here. Where did it go? If you don't mind typing it again, because I don't see it, I'm probably past it, but my apologies. If you want to type it again, I'd love to read it before. Ooh, we already over time. Donovan, I didn't know we was over time. Okay, so let me go all the way to the bottom. JE, how you doing? Says follow in a legal order, or you could later find yourself up on charges. Okay. It's at Cleveland. How you doing? He says there is no constitution as far as Trump is concerned. So yeah. That part, Jamal, how you doing? Says Trump saying is going to happen. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Either it's going to be built or not.
It won't.
Who going to stop him?
What do you mean? The Constitution, the law stops him. He can't do it. I keep telling you that. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, he can't do it. I'm telling you, it can't be done. If he's building listen. If he's building a facility in Boise, Idaho, it will be on that base for the Iraq, whoever these people are, the Qataris to train at. That's it. You're not building any special base for them. It's not going to happen. It's not.
I'm just asking who's going to stop him.
The law is going to stop him. The president is not a dictator. The law is going to stop him. He's throwing stuff out there. Dimitri, you know that. He cannot do it. He can't. It can't be done. I just told you guys, there's a base, several bases where there's joint use and our foreign allies train there with us. They don't have their own independent bases. It doesn't exist. Period.
Like I said, either it's going to be built or it's not going to be
built. Not.
And we'll see, because your homie ain't backing up off of it. So time will tell. I'm just saying, I don't know everything. I'm just saying what he said.
Yeah, Lene, sorry that I interrupted you when Dimitri was doing that. So again.
Yeah, I'll wait for her to make her comment. Roz, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. He says, I'll catch up. Yeah, I didn't realize how fast time went. Look at that. And I love most. He says he took an oath to protect the Constitution. Yeah, it's kind of all over the place. It all remains to be seen. There's a lot of interesting things going on now. I will say that. Just seeing.
African Native says, Donovan, I don't agree. During the Hitler regime, you had to abide by the Nazi doctrine or else. Not true. If you know history, the majority of Germans were not part of the Nazi party. That was a very small party. Now, did they take over the country and do all this other stuff? Most people were not members of the Nazi party. Again, I'm not saying you don't know what you're talking about, but I'm a history major. I got a lot of degrees. But I can tell you, most people in Germany were not members of the Nazi party, so they didn't have to do it. What it was fear and intimidation, which made people not speak out.
Yes, indeed. It has been a very spirited conversation. As I said, the time will tell. TG Hamilton, how you doing? Says, thanks for clarifying the Qatar base in Idaho, but do you have any security concerns with a training base for a foreign military being based here? Apologies if you addressed this already. Me personally, I don't have any concerns. It's the right wing. It's, I guess, MAGA, who was anti-Muslim. Of course, if you're following what's going on in New York with the mayoral race with Zohran Mamdani, of course, Trump says if you guys elect him, he's going to withhold money from New York and this, that, and the other. So it's very anti-Muslim sentiment. But I guess we have bases all over the world. So I don't know what would be different than somebody building it here. But clearly Trump ain't concerned, right? He took a $400 million plane from him. He and Pete said that they were going to be able to build a military base here. So, I mean, they're not concerned. Why should I be?
Right. See, and that's the problem. Our representatives, equal branch of government, is supposed to push back against these things. The law is going to stand when it stands. But again, Michelle says Trump fired a soldier for not displaying his picture. I saw it in the news a couple of months ago. It happened at Fort McCoy. I saw that one too. And you're absolutely right, Michelle. He did do that. He is the commander in chief. He can hire and fire whoever he wants. The incoming secretary of the Air Force, this guy was on his way out in mandatory retirement. Guess who brought him back into service? Donald Trump, which he can do. So the military is not like the civilian world. They could bring people back and do these things, and it's a back and forth thing. So yes, the president doesn't have to ask anybody to hire and fire. He can do whatever he wants when it comes to the military, because he's the top guy and the next man is up. The military goes by next man up. It's as simple as that. If you get fired for no reason, he could just say, I don't like the way this guy's uniform looks. Get him out of here. You're gone. That's it.
TG make a good point. Says, knowing our current president, if the government of Qatar pays for the base, Trump don't care. Just like he didn't care about that $400 million plane they gave him. Just gave him. Unfortunately, the government cannot accept foreign money for a foreign base in the United States. Again, show me in the United States, our closest ally, show me where there's a British base in the United States separate from any other military base. Doesn't exist because it's against the law. You can't do it. Even us over there in Britain, we don't have our own bases over there. We share joint use with those guys. Germany, it's a joint use base. We don't have our own bases over there. Mark, how you doing? Says, bro said it can't happen. They had mofos jumping out of Black Hawks, violating people's basic rights.
That's a civilian issue. That's a civilian issue. That's not a military issue. That's a civilian issue.
Well, who was jumping out of Black Hawks?
Those were federal employees that looked like the military. That's not the military. And that's another thing. As the bosses, we got to start talking about this. A lot of you civilians out there, you see these border agents and these federal agents in military attire, and you think it's the military. It's not. These are border agents. We got to stop militarizing our federal employees.
Okay, can I ask you a question before we get out of here? Because I know a little bit about the military, like where the dance hall is, and some of the barracks. I was going to say hello. How are we? How are we supposed to know the difference if they dress the same?
Exactly, which is why our representatives should say these people need to have a specific uniform, like the military has a specific uniform. What the politicians have done is they've militarized our police departments around the United States. That's why Obama, when we were coming back from Iraq, all that equipment, all these police departments were weaponizing their police departments using military equipment. That should be outlawed. That should not be allowed to happen, because the average civilian sees a military person in clothes, they think it's military, and it's not. Yeah, they have their little plate that says police, but from a distance, when you see camouflage clothing, you think military, and it's not.
So who traditionally jumps out of Black Hawks?
The military traditionally does that, but federal agencies do it too.
Okay. Lene says, my boomer parents think that Trump is more senile than Biden is. They are staunch Democrats. I think so too. I mean, the dude, he don't seem to be wrapped too tight. It just like some of the things he be saying, like today when he was in Israel, he was basically big up, and I'm like, yeah, I gave him those weapons and they did some pretty amazing things with it. It's like, man, there's like 70,000 people, wiped off of the face of the earth. And is that the kind of stuff you say? I don't know. It's just weird. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. And then like, again, he tweeted the other night on True Social about basically how Joe Biden should be held accountable for placing 247 FBI agents in the insurrection. Is like, bruh, you were the president. What are we doing? And they said he got up in the middle of the night like at 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and tweeted that or put on his True Social. So it's like, it's some things. Listen, there are signs. There are signs that he may not be, operating with a full deck. But as I said, I mean, when you're that old, not that that's old, it's older. But when you're that old, I mean, I don't know, do you really want somebody that seasoned in age to be, with their finger on the button? I don't know. Some people say, well, that's ageism, this, that, or the other. It is, but man, when they start to be, doing stuff like that, I think people should say, because they said the same thing about Biden, which I totally agree with. Hey, somebody might go knock on his door and say, hey, you need to come on out of there because you just saying stuff that don't even go together. So I think people should really be concerned.
See, before we get out of here, I just want to say this. Everybody's comment is valid, and I respect everybody's comment. I might not agree with it. I'm not a super expert, but I do know the Constitution. I was in the military, so I can speak on that. But I'm going to say this. Regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump and regardless of how you feel about what's going on with this country, the question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you talking to your representative saying, hey, this is some BS, this is what's going on? Or are you one of those people that yap, and just go with whatever somebody says on TV, or you saw this or you saw that? What are you doing if the Constitution is a threat? Are you going to be the one that's going to go and challenge if it's a legal challenge or whatever? Are you going to put your money where your mouth is to right the ship? See, that's the question. I hear a lot of people talking, not you guys, those people. They talk a good game, but when it comes down to it, I don't see them going to one city council meeting. I don't see them at a congressional town hall of their representative being outraged. I just see them drinking their beers, watching their TV and their football games, not concerned about the danger of Donald Trump. Nobody's doing a damn thing about it. So what does that tell you?
I mean, I agree with that. 95% I do. But the other part of it is, why we got to make them do common sense things? Why do they need to be made to act right? Why do they need to be when they go to office? Why do we got to twist their arm behind their back because you wasn't talking spicy when you got there? Now maybe Trump was, but a lot of other people that's supposed to be the checks and balances, they wasn't. Why we got to make them do their job? It's like
because we're the bosses.
Listen. I've had bosses before, and they didn't have to make me do my job. If I have to make you do your job, you gone, right? Now, that's
the point. Right? That's the point right there.
Right. But that's why I said 95% of it, I agree with you, because we keep re-electing these people. But when are we going to finally get somebody who's going to say, yep, I said I was going to go do this, and I'm going to go do that? Why I got to be kicking the door down to City Hall or whatever it is, talking about you need to just do it. Just do the will of the people, and we can all live great lives, so to speak.
That's the point. You hit it right there. I'm glad you hit it right there. That's the point. Stop. If these people ain't going to go in there and do their jobs and be that third part of the government, 1/3 of the government that they're supposed to be, to do the checks and balances, get them up out of there. They don't deserve re-election. Get you somebody in there that's going to check this president and whatever. But right now, what we're seeing is everybody's getting along to get along, and they're putting money in their pocket at our expense. That's the point. If you agree with me or you don't agree with me, you can agree with that, what Demetra just said. Get them out of there. That's the whole point.
Yeah, then 2026 is right around the corner. How will people vote? Will we vote common sense people in, people who's going to check him and say, hey, nah, you can't really be doing all that. Why are you making people sue you left and right and having all these judges and stuff? And oh, by the way, Letitia James, y'all know she was indicted finally. Trump got some beauty pageant lawyer, somebody he knew, because everybody else was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. But then this particular person agreed to indict her. But the judge that's overseeing the case was appointed by Biden. So what will actually happen is going to be very interesting. Will that judge, I don't know if she's going to have a jury trial or whatever it is, but it all remains to be seen.
Yeah, and think about it, what you just said. All these attorneys, he's getting these entertainment attorneys as regional attorneys, and he's putting them in place. There's no oversight or rule that the president, he can put anybody he wants to help him run the government. And look at our Justice Department. What's the girl he put in New Jersey? She was the one defending him down in Florida. Haba.
Yeah.
Haba. He put her up in New Jersey as the attorney in that area. Totally unqualified. But see, this is how our system runs. So is the onus on them or is the onus on us? The onus is on us at the end of the day, Demetra. We got it. You're out of there. Nope, you ain't doing it. You're out of there. But no, we keep the people in there because we're comfortable.
Yep. Caitlin, how you doing? Says, will New Orleans turn into California and New York under the new leadership that was elected? New Orleans, great place. It sounds like it was already having some issues. I saw that they got a new mayor, a white lady from what it looks like. She says she's gonna go in there and turn it around and do some great things. She mentioned black people and black businesses and things. And it all remains to be seen. But I did watch her whole acceptance speech. And it seems like she had a lot of people behind her. Of course, was it Cantrell? She's the one that was rooking them for a bunch of, just like, my Lord. So hopefully she does them right. And Boss Player says Letitia James indictment is frivolous and bogus. She's going to walk. Oh, totally. I totally agree with you. Everybody else up until the lady he got to indict her or whatever said, nah, I ain't finna do all of that. And so he got in his indictment. But again, Donovan, to your point, where's the people say, hey, homie, that's wrong. You weaponize because you accuse Biden and them of doing it, which they did, in my opinion. I think they weaponized the DOJ against Trump, but now you're doing it. You're going after this, but we know why he's going after Letitia, because she allowed the Biden administration to use her, and leveled that almost $500 million lawsuit against him, which was overturned. So I get that, but it's like, and the sucky part about that too is Biden left her unprotected. Her, Alvin, Fonny's, and he's going after Fonny. He probably waiting to find out if he can do something to Alvin. But Biden didn't care enough about them after they allegedly did his bidding. And now she got to be, fighting for her freedom or whatever it is. So I don't think, well, thank you, Black Wolf. I appreciate it.
As a matter of fact, she just lost, Letitia James just lost that $10 million legal fund. I want you guys to think about this. The governor of New York set up a politician legal fund, and in it, $10 million was put into it by the donors, whatever. Ask yourself, as I said, we got to go back to common sense. Why would a politician need a legal fund? Think about that, Demetra. Why would a politician need a legal fund? Our tax dollars. Why would they need a legal fund if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Well, I've had a couple of licenses before, and you have insurance, errors and omission insurance, whether you're a life insurance agent or a notary, which I've been both, or whatever it is, right? So you do have insurance, which is like, legal protection in a sense, in case you do something wrong, you have that insurance. So I'm saying all that to say, I'd imagine a politician has a legal fund to help them in case they get sued for something. That's the only thing
I would agree with you, and that makes sense. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court gave them qualified immunity. So when they make decisions and laws, they don't get sued. So why would they need my point is this: a legal defense fund is not needed. No other state has something like that because they get qualified immunity in the laws that they make. Unless if they're not doing their job, they've already got qualified immunity. But see, what Letitia James did had nothing to do with her job. It had to do with what she did personally. So why are we using our tax dollars to defend something that a public servant did personally that has nothing to do with the public? This is what they do all the time. Do you guys see what's going on here? They already have qualified immunity for what they do in their job.
So, okay. So I hear what you're saying. So what she did, because it was a mortgage fraud they're saying she did on her personal time. Well, maybe because they feel like that it is a witch hunt, that she is being targeted. I mean, $50, we talking about $50, homie. From what I understand, the infraction is $50 is what they trying to indict her on. So come on, man. Right. But I'm just saying, I get what you're saying. And hey, More Threads, how you doing? It says, hey, Demetra, been busy. Yes, I know. He says, still found the time to soak up the info you gave. Okay. It says Trump being and has many people starting to pay attention to certain things. You ain't lying about that. But I'm just saying, if what she did is a $50 issue on her mortgage, whatever it was, application, I think one could surmise that this is probably a witch hunt. Because on the one hand, come on now, let's keep it up. Does anybody, I'm just trying to put some reason into this, okay? If I'm Letitia James, I'm being sued by who?
What is the banks? Or the federal government?
James is being sued by who? She's been what kind of indictment?
The federal government, right?
How much money does the federal government have?
Unlimited.
So don't you think that I might need to help somebody give me some money? Because does she have unlimited resources to help her fight against the United States government?
Right. But that isn't the issue. The issue is why she already has qualified immunity in the capacity of her job. Why does she need tax dollars to defend what she does in her private life?
Is it tax dollars or she's asking for independent? Because I saw
they set up. Yeah, they set up the legislator, the governor in New York. It's like what Corey Jackson did here. He wants to set up a fund for retirement of the politicians or something like that.
Where's the money coming from?
It came from private donors. She wanted to set up $10 million, something like that.
Private donor to help her what she did in her private life. Whose money is it?
Well, whoever donated, but what the governor's trying to do is use public funds. And as a matter of fact, I think the other day, Letitia James said she's not going to use that fund because she's getting so much blowback from it.
Well, I didn't hear anything about that. I did hear about them trying to get donations to help her with that. But I think Letitia, I think she wasn't wise to do the bidding of Biden. But I get it. So, but we know that the DOJ and other, departments are supposed to operate independently of the president. But we know allegedly that doesn't happen because we can see it all play out on when Biden was in office and now that Trump is in office. But if you're coming after me for the president of the United States, who we know and we saw because he accidentally tweeted it out or whatever it is on his True Social to Pam Bondi that he meant to send in a private message. Hey, I need you to be going after these people who did me dirty. And I'm paraphrasing. So we know that he is targeting her due to what she did in his mind with that lawsuit. So you're asking, why is she getting private or money from taxpayers, which it doesn't sound like she is. She's going up against the United States government. Listen, everybody ain't got P. Diddy money, right? So, of course, she's like, hey, I need y'all to help me with this because I might be going up the river for $50 infraction on my mortgage application from what it sounds like. So I don't know why we even mad at her for that. Like, I don't want to go to, it don't even sound like she really even did anything. Sounds like, because it's the same thing they did with Marilyn Mosby in Baltimore under the Biden administration, which he did not pardon her or help her at all. It was she took money from her own retirement to buy a property, right? And they did all this, that, and the other. So what I'm saying is I'm not mad at Letitia James for getting some money because she's fighting the United States government and Trump seems like he's hell-bent on getting her convicted. That's all I'm saying. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute again.
I'm with Kimmy or Michelle. He says, get the illegals, immigrants to fund her. That's what I'm saying. All these people, we're all these groups that they helped out. Now she needs help. They're nowhere to be found.
I don't know anything about Letitia and illegal immigrants, but I think that's moving the goalposts. Let's stay right here. I think that's moving the goalposts, right? Because on one hand, are we arguing why she's getting private funds to help her with a legal defense against the United States government? Or are we arguing that illegal immigrants help her? And to that, let's leave, because I'm trying to be logical here. Who's to say they're not helping her? Do we know where all her money coming from?
Yeah, but
see what happens
again,
with the goalposts? Yeah,
but again, I was just doing his comment, but here's her comment. But what I'm saying is, when a politician has to set up a defense fund, what does that tell you? Because they already have qualified immunity for the decisions that they make. It shouldn't happen. What I'm saying is it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen.
We just talked about why she needs
I know, but the point is it shouldn't happen. If you're a politician doing your job, it shouldn't even come to that.
She's not getting indicted for doing her job. She got indicted for the $50 infraction on her mortgage application. So there's apples and oranges. That's why she don't have qualified immunity from what she did in her private life. So anyway, y'all. Hey, King Shaw, he says, at least Marilyn Mosley didn't try FBA's for lower level crimes. That's true. She actually, some would say she got in trouble because she did try to bring the officers to justice for doing what they did to Freddie Gray, which I'm not mad at Marilyn. I think she tried to do a job, but I think they made her pay for that. And they also, you know, along with the Biden administration, Democrats, I think they were all in cahoots because they didn't like that she brought those officers up on charges, which they ended up suing and all kind of stuff because they were found not guilty. It was a mess. I'm going to say it allegedly because they were found not guilty. They took Freddie Gray's life in the most heinous way you can think of. And she tried to hold them accountable, and they didn't like that. So that's why.
And that no good husband of hers left her high and dry, and that no good man.
Wow. Well, I mean, you know, that sucks that he did leave her. You know what I mean? That sucks. Hey, Kenneth, how you doing? Says, damn, I didn't know y'all was on, but love the show. Yeah, we supposed to be getting off because we on here long. So Donovan won't be here tomorrow. I will be here though. But yeah, at the end of the day, Don Lemon, who's independent, and all of them be crashing out for what's going on in Chicago. I wish they would have crashed out before it got to that point, right? I wish they would have crashed out and say, Kamala, knock off all the foolishness, please, and thank you.
Did you hear Roland Martin says he's independent? Did you hear about that?
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah,
I saw it, but I didn't see him say that. Yeah, I heard about it, but I didn't see where he said that. So,
yeah. But it's amazing. All these Democratic shills were getting all that money when Kamala was running. Now they're all talking about they're independent. But see, I want you guys to watch the flip. It's like the word progressive. They will go and take the progressive word and they totally change the meaning of progressive. So now all of these shills are calling themselves independent so they can get and move more people back onto the Democratic plantation. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, nobody wants to own their stuff, right? Whether you're a Democrat, and a lot of Republicans are backing away from it, you know, having some buyer's remorse. So a lot of people are being saying that independence where everybody should be independent. These politicians should have to work for your vote. They should never assume that, oh, because they Democrats and Republicans, I got it in the bag. They should always have to work. And then when they don't do the job they're supposed to do, then those independents are supposed to say, all right, we're going to the next person who we like. It ain't going to be you though, right? So anyway, love and appreciate every last one of y'all. Thank y'all so much for hanging in here with us. Thank you so much, Donovan. And I will be back here tomorrow. I'll also be on the African Diaspora News channel at 11 a.m. Central Time. I'll put a notification on this page here on YouTube and Facebook so y'all can join me for about a half an hour. We'll continue having another conversation about what I don't know, but you'll be surprised when I find out about it. Anyway, peace.